everybody, Mike here. We'll be going live in just a couple of minutes. We'll let everybody start streaming. We'll be beginning the live stream in just a minute or so, I think. Looks like we got a few people waiting to join in. Thanks, Steve, watching on the Lidar to enable iPad Pro. So yeah, that we'll talk about the process on that shortly.
Reminds me of one of the comments that I saw in the forum today. Tim H says, "I'll be right back. Going to price out some new iPad Pros."
That's a good one. Yeah, I like that one.
There's our buddy John McClary's joining us today. Welcome to everybody that's joining the live stream. We're going to actually get started with some good stuff here pretty quick.
Hey, John. How you doing? Nice to see you. Ralph? Pleasure to have you on from LinkedIn. Welcome to the show. Hello, Reed. Pleasure to have you on. Yeah, I'm really excited about the Lidar stuff. I've been playing around with a lot for the last couple weeks in pre-production here, and can't wait to see what you all think too. I'm gonna try to do a live thing over the live stream, kind of an inception.
You're a glutton for punishment, aren't you?
I know, I really am. I am not afraid of falling flat on my face in front of the whole world. I've done it many times before.
There you go.
So,
hey, yep. Welcome to Eric and Eric. Good to see Eric got the A.
Hey, Eric. Bonjour. And Eric as well. Pleasure to have you. All right, I think we kick this thing off, Richard.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. What are your first thoughts on? Yeah, you saw the list in the comments on the forum for what's new in Onshape, and 1.147, I think, is the official release. Came out
Is that the one?
Last night.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't bother with the number, but yeah, I saw a lot of great things that I really love. Of course, drawing improvements. I think anybody that's listened to this show over the past 4 months or so knows I'm a huge drawings guy. So the drawing improvements are always great. The 3MF file output, that's something that's pretty big too.
That is a big one.
Yeah. Well, STL is still the de facto standard, but the 3MF is making some waves. There's the advantages include better precision for one. STL's been around since 1987. It was the first one that was available.
Right.
But 3MF also does color. It moves more metadata over with your parts, and can actually incorporate security. So if you have some IP, you can incorporate security with the 3MF. So that's a good addition to the Onshape output, and I look forward to see where 3MF takes us.
100%. I'm actually just going to get something loaded up here, so we have something to talk about and kind of go through a couple of workflows relating to it. So I'm going to sign in on my kind of regular Onshape production account here. Two-factor authentication, and I'm going to share a different screen here. All right, let's see here.
Too bad this didn't come out a couple of weeks ago. We could have asked Terry Wohlers about it last week, our last episode.
Yeah, totally. We'll
I'm
have
sure
to get back with him.
he would have been able to give a lot more information on why 3MF is superior to the STL file than I did.
Indeed. Well, there's a consortium of member companies, and really 3MF, that color support is great. Actually, let me open up something else that has some good colors in it.
Yeah. Well, let's, like I say, let's hope 3MF is the one that finally gets us there.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I worked in the industry back in the 90s, and even back then, people were saying, we got to get rid of STL. We have to get rid of STL. That was 20 years ago. So
yeah, exactly. It's, it was the first step, stereolithography format, STL from 3D Systems, right? It's been around since the very beginning, the very first format. And, we fully support that. There's 3MF now is in your drop-down list, though, for export options. And some of the reasons, like you mentioned, Richard, for using 3DF or 3MF are, it's just a smaller file size. It's compressed. It's more modern. It encloses a lot of information. There are many apps that will support this. So let me, actually, what I have to do is stop sharing that screen and share it a different way to do what I want to show you here. So let's go to different window here. So I have Ultimaker Cura loaded up here, which is one of the more popular slicing software. You can use it with other 3D printers, but it does special things if you have an Ultimaker. And congrats to the Ultimaker and MakerBot for getting together.
Saw that the other day.
Yep, that was really cool to see. So what I'm going to do is just, I've gotten, let's get the file that I just exported from here. Downloads. It was called Valve something or other. Valve assembly. There we are, 3MF. So that came right from Onshape. You saw me export that. And now I'm bringing that 3MF in to the Ultimaker software. So there's certain applications. If you do a Google search, you'll see that HP software supports 3MF. Ultimaker does. Typically, printers that support color, right? Because that's one of the main things. Like there are other 3D printers that don't support 3MF because it's, it doesn't support color. There's fewer use cases for it, but it's nice to have this format available. And here I am. I just did an import of another document into 3MF or Ultimaker earlier, so I'll let that kind of finish it. This is a bigger kind of thing with lots of screw threads, so it's probably going to take a few minutes. But because I'm using SAS for our live stream here, I can let that go into the background. So let's stop that screen just for a second and focus on some of the other things that the new release mentions. So one of those things is, share my other window again now. It's jumping around like crazy. Sorry for that. But the Markup Tool. Now, in case you haven't used the Markup Tool before in Onshape, it's really cool. Like, you don't need to take out that Sharpie, print out something or put it into a PDF and take out the Markup Tool or whatever. You're doing this live and in real time in Onshape, and it's all relating to a comment, as you can see here in this animation that Michael Falkensteiner has put up here on the screen with our little new friend, the robotic dog that we just have designed recently here at Onshape. It was a fun project. But you can see the ability to add a comment has been there for quite some time. But what's new is the ability to erase that Sharpie pen, which is really hard to do in real life, right? Yep. So, it's deleting markup. You might get overzealous with the Sharpie here and start like marking up a lot, or you might have missed what you wanted to mark up, and there was no way of like deleting a markup before. So now there is. What kind of things would you do with this, Richard?
It's been a long time since I had to use any kind of a markup tool. But I would probably use it as part of a design, some sort of design review.
Mhm.
You know, back when I was actually doing the design, doing drawings, I was usually the subject of the design review. So somebody else was using the markup tools on me, and I would go through and fix all the mistakes that I had made. So that's typically my experience with markups. Although I spent a few years on the board, and that was back when we had drafting checkers.
Mm-hmm.
The guy with he had the sleeve protectors on, right? He had the little visor, probably a green visor, and he had red and blue pencils. And for some reason, the blue pencil was always much longer than the red pencil that he had, at least when it came to my drawings.
That's a great story. We all know how that goes. All right, so now we're giving you a blue pencil. Essentially, you're able to
there we
remove
go.
the red. All right, what's next here? There was a small improvement here that it's very important if you have this workflow. I'm just going to highlight it. I don't have a good example to show it on right now, but if you're dealing with a DXF or DWG file from a 2D CAD system, AutoCAD, or one of the various other packages like that are out there, like Aries Kudo, who we partner with for DWG stuff, there is now some better messaging, right, to let you know that whether the issue on import in the Onshape had something to do with geometry, whether it was a file format problem or some sort of file integrity errors, and these things, will happen. I'm sure everybody has seen this over the years, right?
Yep.
So being able to fix that up, having some information first is helpful to understand where it could have gone wrong. So nice little minor update, but it's an important one for people that have that workflow. Like, if you're importing a DXF of a site plan, you're putting up a wind turbine, and you have a DXF file that shows you the site plan. You want to integrate that into your assembly to make sure you're not, doing the right thing, right? So,
yep.
Some stuff on the markup stuff while we're still have it up on the screen. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah. Steve, I do the same thing. Believe me.
I do that too. I totally do that, Steve. Yeah, you're not alone, Steve. Something relating to ballooning, which we'll get to, John, and in just a second I'll get to. But let's just go right in order here. Showing and hiding parts and drawing views, something that has been a big request, and it actually wasn't that easy to do, because if you think about the way systems work with CAD and data management, and we have this released version of a dog that we want to make a drawing of, but we want to hide parts of something that we've released. We're not technically changing the design. We're just changing the view of how we're looking at it, right?
Right. The presentation of said design to wherever it might be, whether it's manufacturing or. Yeah, no, this is big. I like this one a lot. So did Sean C. I liked his comment. I have waited for this so long. That's with 5 little O's. So he's been waiting 5 little O's long for this functionality. So we're glad it's finally here for Sean C.
Yeah, it's really easy to use. Just right click and you have the sub menu there, and you can hide and show the parts. In this case, removing the cover, the bezel of the dog here, so we can see inside and see the nice kind of chassis.
And I just absolutely love the way that was implemented with the list of parts that you'd hidden.
Yeah. So you can see it right there. Now you can have the interior view. You might want to point to those with some balloons and things like that. For your bill of materials, it might be hard to access. But there's innumerable ways of using this, right?
Oh, absolutely. This on the surface, looks like one of those little things, but this is really big.
Yeah, totally. Thanks, Lewis, for the nice comment here. This is it's always a great day when I get to show off Onshape a little bit and some of the new features and all the hard work that our developers have done. And it's nice because, most of the ideas come from the customers, so it's really nice. Eric has a good question. How about reusing existing display states instead of hide and show? And that's a good point. We can totally do that. In fact, he asked.
I believe he asked that same question in the forums, and I'm pretty sure that John McClary is typing out the answer to that right now.
Nice.
Because he did answer it in the forums as well. So everybody gets to see what's going on in the Onshape forums.
Exactly. So let's see. Let's actually try to do this. Let's see if I still can earn my paycheck here. So let's try to make a display state. So I'll this is the first time loading up this machine on the new version, so it's just gonna cache it the first time. We got a Pringle making machine here, right?
Right. Nice.
Everybody loves their can of
big
Pringles.
chunks of steel and socket head cap screws, motors.
Yeah, exactly. So let's make a display state, and we'll say that we want to hide the cans. So actually, let's get it hidden first. Hide the first few cans, and maybe we'll hide this plate here. I'm just using the shortcut key Y, letter Y on the keyboard, just to clean that up. So now we have that. We'll set that as a display state, and we're going to call that what's new. There we are. And now I'll just bring back all the parts. All right, so let's make a drawing. Oh my God, let's try. Let's make connectors. I was a little too J and K are the keyboard shortcuts to hide and show those.
I know them both well.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stick this front view on a piece of paper. And get the front view, and there's the display state right there. So now we can just pick that right from there. Now you could do it after the fact too, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. And this is a pretty big assembly, but yeah, it looks like the cans that I hidden are not there. So yeah, cool.
And I think John's response to Eric in the forums was along the lines of, if you're just trying to make do something quickly with the drawing, it's easier to use hide show parts than it is to go and create a new display state.
Yeah, because that could be considered a change, and the data management becomes a little hairier. So you'd have to go back, create a new version if you had a version to drawing, if it was in a different document.
Yeah,
it all depends on how you're using Onshape. It might never be an issue if you do every single thing in one document, but that's not the best way of using it for larger designs or for companies that want to share things in a different way. So, let's stop that.
Great
screen.
addition there.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know why I stopped showing my screen, because what I wanted to do was share the next feature that we have up to date. And this has been one of my pet peeves. I'm so happy that this one's been added. Let's see here. Okay. So let's just jump back into that sealing machine. Into that drawing. And did I must have done something funny. Yeah, let's just do something else here. Let's make a drawing of this. When I'm doing this stuff live, sometimes I kind of lose my mind and forget where I am. It's like somebody waved a magnet over my head or something. All right. So very often, you have this nice exploded view on your drawing. You might, I don't have it in its exploded state, but let's just throw it in there, and it might not even have one on here. I haven't made this part. Let's show the shaded view, and I want to also show, balloon numbers, not on an edge, but on a surface. Right, so let's put the bill of materials on first. That was my other mistake. So let's just stick a bill of materials on here. And there it is. There we are. So now you can see, obviously, now it's connecting up. But this is what I consider like the most popular way of showing a balloon or call out, right? So you could do it this way, but it's a little more appropriate, I think, to actually point to the region on the face if you at all can. It makes it very clear
Yeah, and certainly case by case basis, but yeah, you're right. I mean, this is absolutely clear.
And then you can drag and drop these things. So if I zoom in over here,
nice.
I got item number 4, and it's a region, right?
And vice versa.
We can also before I say it, I'm just gonna try it. Let's see. Oh, run the line. So you see, I'm just kind of like I'm just drawing something here, and I didn't have it related to it. That's okay. Yeah, I'm gonna reserve judgment for now, and I'll try it in my own time. But the region reference for callouts, that's what that means, is that we can actually point to a surface instead of an edge now for callouts, which is, I find, more appropriate. All right. Other improvements. For people with Onshape Enterprise, and I use Onshape Enterprise for a lot of my demonstrations, one thing that I am going to really appreciate myself, because I share with a lot of different enterprises, is a new permission that is available. Let me zoom in over here into the enterprise permissions. You have very granular permissions in Onshape Enterprise. You can do a lot of granular security that you don't have in any other CAD and PDM system. And this one's really good if you're working with joint ventures or across different companies, or you were bought out by one company and you want to transfer your documents to another enterprise, right? You can transfer the ownership of a document out of an enterprise now, where previously that was a multi-step process. Because of the way enterprise is built, it's kind of like a walled garden, and all of the IP and everything that goes on in that enterprise is kind of like it's just much more closed off to see what's going on at a very detailed level. And that made it a little harder to transfer one document from one enterprise to another. But now that's a thing of the past. It'll be much easier to do. And we all know companies change and there's mergers and acquisitions. This will be a very beneficial thing when it comes to that. All right, here's the one I spent some time on working on this week. So let me, I'll get this set up. It might take me a second. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, I got to stop that one.
Dan M says in the forums about this one, the 3D scanning is huge, H-U-G-H. I think he meant huge.
Yes.
And that he's been using third-party apps for that, but that this is so much easier, and it does. It looks like a great addition to mobile.
Totally. And this is a result of, I went out in the driveway earlier and took a little scan of my car, and I've tried a few different things. So what's going on here? I've tried several different scans depending on where I was and the lighting. Lidar is a different way of doing 3D scanning that is a little more cost effective, I think, right? I just have this is my iPad right here on the screen, and I have it, broadcasting to the window here on this. So how would you get a scan in any other way? Well, before this existed, you would have to have some sort of 3D scanner, right?
Yep.
You'd have, and they're not cheap typically. You're if you want to get a really high end, very precise, fine point cloud, you're going to spend sometimes $100,000 plus, right?
Yep.
To get a scanner that can do that.
Yeah, and even the handheld scanners are in the thousands of dollars. So
exactly. The other problem, it's not really a problem, it's just a fact of life. You would have to take that point cloud that it generated, which is a huge file, deal with that massive file, gigabytes of data, in fact, in many cases. That file would need to be opened in a point cloud handling software, specialty piece of software that you would take the point clouds and, sift through it, identify surfaces, things like that, maybe clean up the noise. You see there's some noise that I have on my car here. Then you would try to turn that into a mesh going from a point cloud to a mesh. And then it's easier to handle in other applications in CAD, like Onshape supported mesh in the last update, right? You know, that mixed modeling, right? So here, now that we support that mixed mesh modeling, we can import a mesh directly from a scan, and iPads and iPhones, the latest ones, have LiDAR scanners built in. Okay, so how would you do this? Well, you'd hit the plus sign right here, just like anything else in Onshape to create a part studio assembly, import a file. You know, we've had import from camera for quite some time. That's like importing just a photo, you know, or from your photo library. But here's import from scan, right?
Nice.
And then, you know, here's my desk. And this isn't going to be a terrible demonstration, but you know, we're actually seeing augmented reality here. So I've identified that, and I'm going to hit the scan button. You see what it's doing live and in real time?
Wow.
It's doing a scan of my office here. Now you see the resolution, right? The resolution's kind of poor. So you really only want to do big things with this, right? You want to like do the hood of a car. You want to do like, you know, larger type things with this. It's not going to be,
maybe
I wouldn't be able to scan this device, this loop deck that I have in front of me. It's not going to be accurate enough, right? What other ideas did you have on this?
Maybe a small warehouse or a small room for laying out furniture or laying out equipment.
Exactly. So once you kind of generate the scan, you hit the generate button, and then you hit that generate button. And I'm doing this just like while I'm talking with you guys, like with one hand. This would be hours and hours of work to get to where I am on that car right there. And I didn't do anything to it. I just took the scan. I didn't try to fix it or anything like that. Here's scan 4, the one I just made. Now this one's going to be crappy, but you can sort of see, you know, the front of my monitor, that little, you know, my 3D mouse kind of looks like a lump of clay right now. But but it's really meant for larger things, right? So that's the one thing I want to make sure everybody is aware of, is that you really want to use this for larger things. Like if I wanted to do some sort of like custom bracket that attached to the front of the, you know, my license plate, I might be able to get a few dimensions from this 3D. Think of it as like a 3D measuring tape almost. That's one way, you know, of thinking of it, I think.
Yep. Or another way is to using it as a template to design around.
Yep, exactly. So those are some of the things I think you would, you know, like here's the, you know, the generator that I used in the What's New video. And, you know, I was able to walk around it, get the, you know, basic size and shape of the thing. You know, the corners aren't going to be sharp, but, you know, if I spent some more time on this, I could probably figure it out. But it's there as a reference, right? That's really, I think, the number one thing. You can still cut holes in this, transform them, move them around, things like that, like you do in Onshape, right? But it's really, you know, quite interesting, very new technology. The sky's the limit. I have no idea where this is going to go, other than what I think, you know, people can use this for. Like, you know, you have your iPad, you don't want to take your tape measure out. You just want to get a sense of size and scale. That's one way I can see an obvious immediate benefit. But if you set yourself up in a nice studio, like, and put a part on a turntable and have really good lighting, you could probably get a really good scan out of this.
I'll bet.
So that is Lidar scan and mesh. Really, I can't tell you how long this would take. I mean, it would take a long time to do what I just did in just a few minutes, like in front of you live. You know, so hopefully this continues to improve. You know, we have, you know, this is technology that PTC has developed, you know, that's used in other products, right? You know, that, you know, PTC is well known for being in the IoT, and, you know, they have ThingWorks, they have Euphoria, and a lot of this technology is from, you know, because we're part of PTC, right?
Yep.
You know, we have access to this really cool, deep well of technology that we can start to implement. Another thing on Android for mobile, we support the 3MFX port now as well. Hopefully we'll have that for iOS shortly.
I'm an Android guy, so I'm happy.
Excellent. All right, so let's stop sharing the iPad, and I'll share the other screen here. Not that one. Any comments there, Richard?
There are a few of them, actually a couple of questions too.
Yeah,
I think
let's look at that
John
before we go on.
McClary's doing a good job of answering our questions for us. So thank you, John. Appreciate that. Is there a limit to the point cloud?
So I'm not quite sure. I've taken scans that took me several minutes. Like I walked around the car for several minutes trying to get it as accurate as possible. And I presumed that would be a really large file. In fact, it actually gives you a file right here. It's kind of hard to see what the file size is or anything, but on the iPad at least, I could probably check on my machine to see what the size of that file is. But I walked around it for several minutes just compiling up those triangles, and it was a lot of triangles that it was generating. So I presume there's a limit, and I presume Apple has published it somewhere. There might be a limit on our side too. There very well could be, but I'm not sure.
Hopefully some of our users will get out there and really put this thing to the test and let us know if there are any limitations that we can address.
Yeah. The resolution is, lower than what you'd want for a small object. You can really only kind of do larger objects with the Lidar that we have in the iOS devices.
Yeah, and Gaiska in the comments he's a little disappointed by that, but stay tuned. You never know what's going to happen with this functionality. So
I want to put it out there straight. I mean,
yeah.
You're not going to scan a small product with this. That's for sure. It's really for reference. You won't see this on your iPad until all the various app stores update. So we send out the update to Android and Apple to their app stores. So it takes a couple days more than the SaaS way of doing it, right? When we just do it through the web browser. So that's one thing. You won't see it on your iPad version. I have a pre-production version on my iPad.
The special version.
Yeah.
So I think that answers Steve's question.
And it's definitely hardware dependent. It's the latest and greatest iOS devices like that are pro grade that have the Lidar built in, right? So that's iPhone 12, 13 Pro, and I have the latest iPad M1 iPad here that has it as well. So those are the only devices that have the Lidar built in. So we support anything like that has it.
So time to invest in Apple stock, because now that this is out, there'll be a run on iPads.
Yeah, I'm liking my newer iPad. It's really fast. So it opens things really nicely in Onshape. All right, let's share the next few things. And wait for it. Okay. Rendering. Everybody loves rendering.
And it's just getting better and better and better.
Yeah. So these are some productivity improvements. So if you're in the rendering, you're going to be able to make renderings much faster because of these productivity improvements. Number one, select by appearance, right? So now let me just kind of scroll down here so you can see the GIF kind of playing here. So I want to select I'm going to pick a spoke. I know what material it is. Let's just watch it again. All right. So, okay. We're going to do it in the opposite order. So we know what appearance we picked, and we actually named it spokes because you can rename an appearance so you can identify it later in your scene appearances. And now you can just right click all the parts and say show appearances, and it highlights them all. So that way you can do something with that selection, right? So that's obviously a very nice productivity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Imagine
and in conjunction with the next one, these are the kind of things that I looked for initially when rendering came out, and now here they are. So I'm a happy guy, and I didn't even have to say anything.
Yeah, they read your mind.
That's right.
But yeah, copy and paste by appearance. That's totally makes sense, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then, this is a little better now too, being able to, this video might not show it really good. Let me see if I can go over here. I'm sharing just that window, so you're not going to see what I'm doing. Okay.
There we go.
But essentially, in the last update, we allowed you to select the exploded view on a new scene, and that was it. But now you can actually be in the render studio and get to the exploded view information.
Yep.
So that's an improvement over the last one. The next update is actually really pretty cool in multiple ways. Sometimes it's nice. You have a casting like this and you want to show what's going on the inside, right? So you can define sections in Render Studio. Like right here, you see that view sessions. You can create these sessions here and create a section plane to clip through the model. And then wherever it clips, like if you're cutting through a saw, you might want to just highlight it in blue or something. And if you're cutting with a laser, you might cut it in red. And, just to kind of convey information, you can totally set those scenes up here now. So there's the sections menu down there. You can just tell it to enable caps and then select the color.
Yep. Very nice.
Yep. Some learning materials now as well, right? So lots of, there's a new course completely on frames, which we introduced recently, right? So now you have a course that you can take a look at. Let's see what that looks like here. Absolutely. We can resume that course. And it remembers where I was left off right here. So definitely good to have that right at your fingertips.
Yep. The Learning Center is just outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also some updates to some other courses as well. Oh, and then there's the render course as well. So lots of stuff in that. Gets into a lot of gory details, with the settings that you might want to apply to make it look really, really special. So
you had scrolled down for a second there. That reminded me to thank John McClary for his Michael Jackson GIF that he put into the forums, indicating that he would be joining us today. Do you know that song came out in 1970? And I was 10 years old, and I'm admitting it in public right here. I was a Jackson 5 fan, and I was an Osmond Brothers fan when I was 10 years old. There's no shame in that when you're 10. It wasn't until I was about 13 that I moved to a little bit harder rock. But it brought back a lot of great memories. So thanks, John. I appreciate that.
Yeah. That's awesome. I can hear the song in my head right now. All right. So I think that's really all that is fit to print here. Oh, John was 14. Oh, negative 14. John was negative 14.
Yeah, well, I am the old man on the block, and I own that. 62 years old, but I still feel like I'm 35. So, well, that was quite an update. I mean, the drawing improvements, the render improvements, the Lidar scanning, just amazing. And we get to do this every 3 weeks, and that's what's so great about Onshape and the development and the developers, the entire team, the entire company, just fantastic.
Well, in a few more weeks, we'll be getting together again and doing this. Do we have any other news that we want to talk about before we wrap up?
One thing I'd like to mention is to everybody to make sure and watch this week's episode of the Innovators Insider podcast. We'll be dropping that on Thursday morning. We've got some great guests, and I think you'll really enjoy this podcast. So do tune in.
Great. All right. Well, until next time.
Yep, that was great. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And hopefully we'll see you on Thursday, and we'll see you for the next live broadcast. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.